right, so this is lesson 4.6, day 2. So in this lesson, we're going to see some imaginary. So we're going to follow the same steps. I'm going to make a couple of changes, though, to what's in your notes packet. So for this first change, I do want you to make that equal sign a plus and then put it equal to 0. So we're going to change it so that we end up getting an imaginary solution on this one. So for our first step, we want to label A, B, and C now that it all equals 0. And you want to have that formula memorized if you don't. So go back to the videos, practice that, but you do want to have that memorized so it will make things a lot quicker. So x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So you want to plug those in, and if you have it memorized, it's easier to plug them into the right spots quicker, which sometimes can take the longest, even though solving kind of seems like it takes a long time. But so plug it into the right spots. Next, we are going to multiply and do the square root, or sorry, the square here, that power of 2. So 4 squared is 16, 4 times 15 is 60, 4 times 2 is 8. Next step, we're going to multiply again under that radical these two things here to get to 40, and then we'll subtract. So this is where that negative comes into play. So we've got a negative under the radical, so we're going to simplify it. The negative is going to come out and become an I out front. And then we're going to simplify 224, which ends up dividing by 16. So we have square root 16 and square root 14, and then the I that came out front from the negative. So we put the 16 becomes a 4 with the I out front. The 14 stays under. Negative 4 out front and 8 below. And then the last step is to simplify. You can leave it as 1, or if you want to separate it as 2 to realize that there are 2 answers there, you can. Or you can just see if you can divide all 3 of these by the same number. So if you can, you want to go ahead and do that. So 4, 4, and 8 all have a factor of 4. They all, remember, it has to go into all 3 of these for you to be able to divide it. So we could divide all 3 by 4. So that would give me a negative 1, just a 1i. And then in the bottom, 8 divided by 4 would be 2. And there's the plus, and there's the minus. And again, you could keep it together if you wanted to, or you could separate it like this, 1 plus, 1 minus. And we've already simplified it, so we are done. So on the next one, I want you to try number 4 on your own. This one is not going to give you an imaginary, but it will give you a nice solution. It's just a good one to practice. It's already A, B, and C. It's already in standard form. So practice with that formula. X equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, and check when you're ready. All right, so hopefully you've plugged everything in and you've gotten to steps that look kind of like this, and then you wound up with negative 5 plus 3 over 4 and negative 5 minus 3 over 4, which reduces to negative 1/2 and negative 2 as your solutions. All right, and this last one we're going to do together, and I'm going to make a quick little change here. I'm actually going to change this to a plus 5. So change that to a plus 5. So that way we've got an imaginary again. We can practice with those. All right, so x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, so simplifying, you want to do the power first. So that would be 25 minus 4, and 4 times 5, so there's a 20 here, and then over 8. And then we want to multiply these two things and then subtract. So the reason we take it kind of a few steps at a time is so that we don't make mistakes like accidentally subtracting 25 and 4 and then multiplying, because we don't want to do that. We want to follow those order of operations. So I know sometimes it's a lot of writing and you're like, well, I could kind of, skip ahead, but just be careful. Sometimes it's better if you don't skip ahead and write every step out. So we end up with a negative 55 under here over 8. So that negative, we know is going to become an I, and then we look to see, can we reduce that power, or that, that radical? So no, we can't, because it's 55 and there's no perfect square that we could divide 55 by. So it's negative 5 plus or minus, bring the I out, so it's no longer negative under the radical. And then we look to see, can we reduce? Negative 5, 1, and 8, do they have a common factor, those three numbers? No. So this is our final answer. And again, you could split it up if you wanted to, because there are two answers, but that's fine with me if you want to leave it like that.